The U.S. is stepping up its rhetoric against China over the East Asian country's presence in the South China Sea. U.S. Defense Secretary James Mattis has accused China of intimidation and coercion in the disputed waters of the sea. Mattis was speaking at a security summit in Singapore. He claimed China's militarization on man-made islands in the South China Sea stands in stark contrast to what Mattis called the openness of the U.S. strategy. The U.S. always sides with China's adversaries when a dispute arises between Beijing and its rivals anywhere, regardless of the need to first apportion blame in disputes.
There are a number of reasons for it. One, of course, could be a lot of the negotiating strategy of President Trump in playing hardball prior to any kind of negotiation. If that be the case, of course, it's a rather risky strategy because it threatens to throw any possibility of negotiations really off track. But it's something that has been characteristic of him. But I think more fundamentally, there's another problem here. That there's a major fight going on within the administration between those people who want to bring China down a peg and those who are interested in coming to some agreement with it.
China has not taken a step back in the face of the U.S. rhetoric against Beijing over the maritime dispute. The Chinese Defense Ministry said Thursday the carrier group led by China's first aircraft carrier, the Liaoning, has reached initial combat readiness. Western media and officials construe this as another significant step in the country's ambitious military modernization program. The war of words between Beijing and the U.S. that's spearheading Western efforts to contain China is in full gear. There are chances that things will spiral out of control and escalate into a real warfare.
That's a very dangerous situation, that the increase and the added impetus to the so-called freedom of navigation operations close to what China has legitimate claims on is creating a very dangerous situation in which at any point in time can come to some kind of a conflict between forces on both sides. And anybody, it's anybody's guess what such a conflict can lead to. This is not a very good situation. Hopefully there will be attempts on the part of people, even within the Pentagon, to achieve some kind of discussion.
The showdown between China and the U.S. as the leader of the Western world has several dimensions. One of them is underway in the South China Sea. The U.S. and China are also divided over Washington's policy toward the Korean Peninsula. Beijing does not want tensions over North Korea, a neighbor of China. The Chinese government will not stand idly by if there is a meaningful U.S. threat to North Korea.
China has been a key element in trying to pull this thing together, as President Trump himself has several times indicated, and that all the forces on the ground in the Pacific, South Korea, China, even Japan, is being brought to the table to some extent, are interested in coming to some kind of an agreement on the Korean Peninsula. So everybody's waiting for this big meeting between President Trump and Kim Jong-un. But if the China-U.S. relationship tends to fall apart prior to that, that is also placed in question.
The other battlefield is economy. The U.S. and China are engaged in a trade war to some extent. The war has been initiated by the U.S. President Donald Trump. China in 2010 replaced Japan as the world's second largest economy. Hence, China is no easy target for the U.S. and other large Western economies combined.